Hey readers, it's Lori. Welcome back to my channel, Books, Ink, and Paper. I'm glad you're here. If this is your first time, I'd love for you to subscribe and come back again and again. I like to have a lot of people to talk to here too, so make sure you comment and share in the places that you can do that in the videos that you watch. Do you ever feel like you just really look ragged and haggard and run down? I'm feeling a little ragged and haggard and run down today, so maybe that's it. But yeah, today I'm just feeling like, ugh. All right, I'm going to talk about Read Christie. This is a reading project that was created a while ago, but I've been doing it for a couple of years now. I do it, but I don't stick to it so much that it drives me crazy, if that makes sense. And I'll tell you why it might drive me crazy in a minute. My lighting's off too. That's part of my problem. But nevertheless, the creators of Read Christie, and you can find it, you can look up Read Christie 2023 and find this year's prompts, but I'm going to share them with you as well. You can find them online, and they pick a Agatha Christie book for every month of the year. They do pick a theme each year. They sometimes lean more heavily on one detective over another, but they do have a mix this year for sure. Of course, it's February when I'm filming this, and it's late in this week when I'm filming this because I've had a rough week in a number of ways, but I won't get into that now. Read Christie 2023 Methods and Motives. There is a postcard that you can download on the website, print it out, and I usually do that. I haven't done it yet this year, but I like to kind of have that with me. And then this year they have kind of a bingo board or a puzzle board looking board that you can print out too, which is all black. So it takes a lot of ink if you decide to do that, but it has a sort of a corresponding reminder of what the motive is for that month. So it's kind of fun. So let's get started with January, which I did complete. If you saw my wrap-up video for January, you know that I read Sad Cypress. That was my something old for my book, or my challenge with Megan, the wedding book challenge. And Sad Cypress was a pretty old novel. It was written in the 40s. The way it was laid out was different than many Agatha Christie reads, and I did share this before, but I'll just briefly say in case you didn't see that. The way it was laid out was part one kind of set the tone with the characters and the potential for murder. You weren't really certain who was going to die, but it helped you to get there. And then, of course, somebody died. Part two was when Poirot is connected and contacted by a guy who was a friend of the family and had some interest in finding out what happened and who was really guilty of this and was someone wrongly accused. And then part three was a trial. That is a departure for Agatha Christie for sure. So it was fun. I enjoyed it. I think I gave it 4 stars. It was one that I would read again, and I don't remember reading it the first time, so that's interesting. But again, I started reading, I don't guess I told you this, I started reading Agatha Christie's when I was like 9. So it's, possible that I read it and just don't have any recollection of it. Oh, and the motive for Sad Cypress was jealousy. For February, the read is Partners in Crime, which is a Tommy and Tuppence mystery. And Tommy and Tuppence are not my favorite detectives. Having said that, though, I have read a few and I am willing to give Partners in Crime a chance. And I do think I have read Partners in Crime before, and I don't remember having a bad feeling about it. So that's good news. And the method for this is a blunt object. So this one starts out with Tommy and Tuppence agreeing to do some detective work for Blunt's International Detective Agency, and they're asked to take it over from the previous owner or proprietor. And they start solving little crimes like missing jewelry or things like that. And then something a little bit more intense happens, obviously, with a blunt object. So the next read for March is Moving Finger. And the motive for this one is anger, which is a motive for a lot of crime, right? So this one is a Miss Marple mystery, and Miss Marple is my favorite, and I have read this. So this one follows Jerry and Joanna, who live in a village, which most people in Agatha Christie, Miss Marple murder mysteries do. And he is recuperating from an accident, and Joanna is taking care of him. And suddenly some poison pen letters start to come into the village, and there's a lot of accusation in them, and I'm sure anger. And there's one person who receives one of those that commits suicide. So suddenly the vicar, who's often present also in Miss Marple mysteries, the vicar and the doctor and the servants, everybody is accusing and trying to figure out what's happening, and Miss Marple rushes in and saves the day. This one is one of my most memorable, I would say. So I'm excited to reread this one because it's been a while since I've done so. April is Sparkling Cyanide, and I have read this one as well, and its method is poison. This one starts with a dinner party with a number of people. As I recall, they were all related or friends in some way. And there are 8 places at the table, but only 7 people have been invited. And at the 8th empty plate is a sprig of rosemary. Rosemary is for remembrance. And there actually was someone in their lives named Rosemary who had died a year before. And so the dinner party is in memory of Rosemary, and then something happens. Interestingly, May is not yet released. It is to be determined or to be revealed. So I can't tell you what May will be in terms of the actual read. It will, however, the motive for May will be betrayal. And there's a number of novels that would fall under that category. I think either The Mysterious Affair at Styles or The Murder of Roger Ackroyd would fit this particular prompt or this particular motive. So we'll see what happens. For June is They Do It With Mirrors, and the method for this one is a gunshot. This one is the 6th in the Miss Marple series, and this one follows her going to visit a friend who lives in a place where they care for youth who are delinquent in some way, and a murder occurs there at the hands of a gun. July is Evil Under the Sun, kind of fitting for the summer, right? Especially where I live, because it will be very, very hot here. And this one always reminds me of extreme heat. The motives for Evil Under the Sun are love and lust. This has also been made into a film at least once, maybe twice. It follows Hercule Poirot as the detective, and this one follows, I think her name is Ariana, and she is on a vacation on a beachy area, and it sets up, the whole premise of this is that she's like sought after. There's some sexual tension with Ariana, and so she's sunbathing on the beach, and she's not responsive, and they find out that she has died. I like this one, and I remember watching the movie. The adaptation of this is one of my favorites, mostly because I love the actors. Stars Peter Ustinov as Hercule Poirot. Diana Rigg is in it. Maggie Smith is in it. Roddy McDowall, if you know who that is, you're of a certain age. Probably, or you watch a lot of old movies. Roddy McDowall is in it as well. So I just remember it being a good movie, and I think it's available on some streaming services, but it came out in the early 80s, so it's kind of old. August's selection is Death Comes as the End. This is the method is a fall from a great height. And this woman, I think she's the daughter of someone who lives at this particular palace. She falls from a great height, and there are people who are certain that it was an accident. There's some that are certain that it was suicide, and there are some that are certain that it was not. So I don't remember. I remember reading this one. I don't remember a lot about it. So it will be kind of exciting to revisit this. And one of the things I like about Agatha Christie is they're not all set in England. So she does have her characters traveling in different ways. And I appreciate that because you get a sense of a new place and setting in a lot of them. And that makes for a more exciting opportunity, I think, or an exciting experience. So September's read is Appointment with Death, which the motive is hatred. This one is one that stands out for me as one of my favorites. It's a Poirot. It's one of the older ones. I think he's well seated at this point as a detective in Agatha Christie's novels. He's on a vacation at a resort, and while he's there, a woman is killed. I think she's stabbed. Stabbing is generally a crime of hate. And he is, of course, pulled out of his peaceful vacation to help solve this. But what makes it challenging is that nobody that was with this woman or in this woman's family liked her. Like nobody liked her. Like the entire resort probably has a motive for murdering her. She was kind of a vile woman, which then spurned someone to kill her. Yeah, so I love the fact that, this one is kind of different than some of the others. Most people are sad, when someone is murdered in their lives in these books, but in this case, not so much. For October, the method is stabbing. So again, I'm not sure that I think she was stabbed in September, but I'm not sure. Anyway, in October, the method is stabbing, and there isn't one selected yet. It's to be revealed. In the meantime, though, there are a couple that you could take a look at. One of the most famous, I would say, is Murder on the Orient Express, which is a closed circle train mystery, and someone that was pretty vile as well in many ways is stabbed on that particular one. Another one that involves a stabbing is Murder on the Links. This one is a man who's a friend of Poirot's cries out for help, and Poirot rushes to France to save his client from whatever it is that he is worried about, and discovers that he's been brutally stabbed and face down in a shallow grave on a golf course. But he's wearing his son's coat, and there's a love letter in his pocket. And so there's some curiosity there. And there's another twist that I won't tell you about because I think it's better if it comes as a surprise. But I love Murder on the Links, and I might read that in October just because it's one of my favorites. November, I will definitely read, and that is Endless Night. And this is one of her most loved books of her own feeling. This was one of her favorites. It's very unique, I would say. It follows a man who has some designs on being wealthy and living in this one particular place. And so he kind of sets out to be able to make that work, and some things happen. And I really don't want to give this one away because it has it's very cool. And the motive for this one is greed. This one is one of her most gothic, I would say. Some people say this is the best piece she ever wrote. It's pretty cool. And the last one for December is Sleeping Murder. And again, a delightful one. This is Miss Marple's last mystery, which is sad for someone like me who really loved Miss Marple. But this follows her friend Gwenda, who has purchased a home, and she's trying to renovate it and spruce it up. And some things start to appear that they discover about the people that were in this home before. And the method in this particular one is strangulation. The uniqueness of Sleeping Murder is that Miss Marple and her friend end up solving a murder that happened years before. So it's not a in the moment solving a crime piece. They're really having to dig deep into the history of this house and this community. I hope you enjoyed this little foray into the Read Christie series for 2023. I certainly am going to have fun. I feel like I will finish each one of these this year because they're almost all of them are favorites of mine, and almost all of them are rereads for me. So that's always exciting to step into something that I've already loved. And as an adult or as an older adult, kind of looking back at it now and seeing how I feel about it. I'll try to update you when they do announce the reads that are still not selected. But again, I wanted to give you some possibilities that would cover those in the event that you want to kind of get these collected between now and the end of the year. Agatha Christie's are not often found in used booksellers stores. They are found easily on Scribd, I have discovered. They're available on audio and of course Libro.fm. They're pretty much available on Kindle through Amazon, sometimes very inexpensively, like I said. So you can kind of find a bargain if you plan ahead a little bit. But if you kind of go month to month, you may be able to find a bargain. But most libraries carry a large selection of Agatha Christie's as well. I do find that a lot of libraries carry them in large print, so they assume that the readers are, like me, older and require reading glasses or assistance. So I'm not sure how I feel about that. But when I read Sad Cypress, I don't own that one anymore. I had to get it in large print, and it was quite, I don't know, I feel a certain way about reading books in large print, but, you know, again, I am of a certain age. I'm not as old as Miss Marple, but, you know, I will be one day. Thanks again for joining me, for watching this, for supporting my channel, for following and recommending and playing and reading along with me. And as always, happy reading. Bye.